You can watch Arsenal versus Burnley and Man City versus Crystal Palace on Now TV for just €10. So what's stopping you? Putting up more Christmas decorations? Your house already looks like Santa's grotto. A family party? Your Aunt Mary has seen you 4 times this week already. Don't let anything get in your way. To treat yourself to a Now TV Sky Sports Day Pass and watch the games that matter to you for just €10, search Now TV Football today. Content streamed by internet. Full terms at nowtv.com.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
Before we move on, did you say that John Stamos was hosting it?
Yes, that is correct.
I actually met him when I worked at Hollywood Studios years ago, and I'm happy to say that I was much taller than he was, but that's about where the comparison stops.
Coffee, tea, or me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. I'm your host, Dan Z, enjoying a fresh cup of coffee in my Star Wars Galactic Nights mug from Disney's Hollywood Studios, which I received during Star Wars Celebration in Orlando, of course. Joining me for a cup of coffee today is the IndieCast host and podcast icon, Ed DeLosta, and the co-host of the Sandcrawler podcast and a writer for CWK and RetroZapped, Mike McDonald. Tom Gross will join us later in the show for news, and CWK's Nick Deco will bring us the latest in the world of Star Wars video games. In the coffee chat, we will break down Dave Filoni's latest tweet heard around the Twitterverse. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
It's great to be here.
Thanks very much, Dan. Nice to finally make the big leagues.
You bet. Well, I don't know about that, but that's very kind of you.
Well, this is a huge deal for me, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to have you on. It's long overdue. I'm a big fan of both shows, of course, and longtime listeners of the show know that Ed was instrumental in helping get this show even started. And now here we are. But you were going on 10 years, right?
Yes, we're coming up in November to our 10th anniversary, which is absolutely crazy to even contemplate.
It's amazing, and the amount of contributors and shows, and it's been quite a run.
Oh, it certainly has, and we've got a fantastic listener base, and as you mentioned, we've got so many wonderful contributors who just love, Indiana Jones, as you guys, I'm sure, do. Just imagine what we can do if we've actually got an indie film coming out. It's going to be amazing.
I know. Well, let's hope that D23 brings us something that we can talk about on that front.
Wouldn't that be great? I hope so.
Before we really break everything down, I do want to look really quickly at some books that were sent to me recently, both from Disney Publishing and Chronicle Books. And there's some great stuff that's coming out, some really soon and some in the very near future. For example, Disney sent me a copy of BB-8 on the Run. Now, this will be premiering on Force Friday 2, September 1st, 2017. And I'll read to you what was included with the book. BB-8 on the Run by best-selling author Drew DeWalt, who wrote The Day the Crayons Quit and The Day the Crayons Came Home, and best-selling illustrator Matt Myers, who is famous for Battle Bunny. And basically what we have here is it's set in The Force Awakens on Jakku, right between basically when he says goodbye to Poe, or when BB-8 says goodbye to Poe, and says hello to Rey. And there's a lot of adventure with BB-8. In fact, between this and Forces of Destiny, it's a wonder that BB-8 doesn't have anxiety, because that little droid runs into a lot of stuff. And the art is beautiful, as I said at the top, and it's great. There's just these lush, vivid paintings that are encased in the book, and they're really lovely. I think kids are going to absolutely love it. It's very much a children's picture book, but it's got enough there for all Star Wars fans, and I think people will love it. And Disney was kind enough to send a signed print of Matt's artwork, which features BB-8 and Rey, and it's gorgeous. Definitely going to go up in the Coffee with Kenobi Studios. The other thing I got a few things from Chronicle Books. The showcase one that I really want to look at is Star Wars Super Graphics, A Visual Guide to a Galaxy Far, Far Away. This is by Tim Leong, Leong, and I apologize, Tim, if I am mispronouncing your name. But this one is really, really cool too. It's very much it's just a huge book of infographics. I'm flipping through it now as I'm talking, but it's got 175 pages, and each one is either one page or a two-page spread. Most of them are two-page spreads, quite actually, of just various pieces of information from the Star Wars mythos, and the detail and the research on these things is just incredible. For example, as I'm shuffling these papers around, Tim isn't like this huge Star Wars fan, and he found these connections and trivia and coincidences in the book, and he illustrates them. So you have the facts and the information about it, but you've also got these beautiful graphs that explain things. And I'll just give you an example. It has there are 4 different Jedi councils, and there's a chart about how they kind of what's similar about them, what's different. Who mentions the Force more often? Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, or Qui-Gon? That's actually on page 40. When you get a copy of that, I will leave that out there to tantalize you because it's pretty fun. It wasn't what I expected, but it does make sense, if that makes sense. No spoilers here, so you'll just have to find out when you get the book. On page 60, they have a chart of who has the Falcon, who has it as it went through. And I don't know about you, but after The Force Awakens, it was a little bit muddied. I mean, it was clear, but it wasn't clear because we haven't seen the changing of the guard, so to speak. So that's interesting. On page 46, it has the ages of training of everyone that started. And it has Anakin, it has Luke, has Rey, it has Ezra. It's really, really cool. And then page 126 is one of my favorites because it has the size of the Death Star in comparison to Starkiller Base. And the whole book is like that. It's got the different shades. It's got little images of every character who has a lightsaber and the color of their blade as far as what the sabers look like. It's really cool. I definitely think it's something that you will like. There are a link to all these books in the show notes. Speaking of, you will hear later in the Patreon read, we have a book, 99 Stormtroopers Join the Empire, that we're going to give away. And it's another fun book. It's I don't know if it's quite for kids. It's definitely more adult humor because it basically has a number of pages of stormtroopers and how they meet their demise, and it's humorous in a Monty Python sort of a way, and entertaining. And so we have that for giveaway. And they also sent along the Empire Strikes Back notebook, and it's basically 3 small. It says notebook, but I don't know if it's really a notebook so much as it's just little books that you can write in, and it has the lines in them that you can do so. And they have different quotes from The Empire Strikes Back in each one. And it's full of McQuarrie art, and it's gorgeous. It would be nice just to sit on your shelf, let alone to open up and write in. So check that out. There'll be links to all those things, as I said, in the show notes. A huge thank you to Disney Publishing and Chronicle Books for sending these along for me to do a review. We're going to go ahead and start the show today. The last week, we had talked about the first 3 episodes of Forces of Destiny, and now the first 8 have been out. And I'm curious to know what you two, as well as the rest of our CWK family, thinks of them. Any particular standout episodes or moments in the first 8 episodes?
I think for me, I think so far my favorite has actually been Beasts of Echo Base. I think where they're heading with the show, I think it was a perfect example where you have Chewie looking absolutely helpless in the arms of a Wampa. That was a laugh out loud moment, and I thought it was fantastic. I think the show is going to be a lot of fun for, despite the audience they might be shooting for. I'm loving the heck out of it. I think it's great.
Well, I've certainly that's actually one of my favorite episodes too. I think I'm steering towards those bits in the original trilogy that are sort of, filling the gaps a little bit, which I really quite like. My main takeaway was why does Anakin look like he's wearing lipstick in his episode? I don't know. That was my only negative.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments about that, and I tend to agree with the both of you. I find myself, not consciously, but just I find myself liking the original trilogy ones more. Not that I don't like the others, because they're all very entertaining. I really, really liked the Beasts of Echo Base, and And then the last one, Bounty Trouble, because it kind of crossed the streams, if you will, because we had Sabine.
Yes.
And we had Leia.
Right.
What do you all
Leia,
think
Leia
about
from sort of a New Hope look rather than how we saw her on the actual Rebels episode.
That's right, and that's the only one I'm a bit unclear about the timeline, but I'm sure that, as Leland Chi has said on Twitter, as time goes on, we will find out more concretely where everything takes place. Most of them seem pretty obvious.
Right.
And you mentioned the Chewie helplessly in the arms of that Wampa. It's unusual to see Chewbacca in a position where he's not the biggest entity in the room.
Right. It really reminded me of the old Marvel comics, just that, clearly it was a comedy moment. The look on his face, I laughed out loud, like I said, the first time I saw it. I think it's, what you're mentioning, Dan, about liking the OT episodes more. You figure we've seen a lot of prequel era, obviously in cartoon form with the Clone Wars and the Tartakovsky Clone Wars. So, very little TV content, animated content in the OT with our especially with Leia. So it's it's refreshing to see. It's almost like it's the episode with what was it called, Padawan Path, for example, really felt like something right out of the Clone Wars. It wasn't really, whereas the other episodes kind of you're watching, it's like, okay, this feels like something new and something different. Padawan Path felt like it came, it could have been in an episode we'd already seen of the Clone Wars. So I like where they're going with this. It's
yeah, me too. Especially the imposter inside. That really, especially when you have, Cat Taper back to voice Padme. That's the one that my son likes more than any of them because he likes that Claudite.
Oh, okay, right.
I just hope they. It'll be interesting to see how far they're going to take this, or how they can maybe make the episodes. I suppose a little bit different. I found this sort of, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm just not the target demographic, but I found them a little bit formulaic, and I'm wondering if they're going to, how far they can take it in a, 2.5 minute or 3 minute, episode, or whether they would expand these to a little bit, longer episodes. I'd like to see in the future, perhaps.
Right, and I do think that I can definitely see it's a bit of a paint by numbers thing, and not necessarily pejorative, but there's definitely that. And the thing that I always say is, if you're going to have a novel or a TV show or whatever, how is it going to add to the overall mythology? Do you both think that this is filling in important information for the mythology, or is it just kind of fun? I guess it's sort of all of the above, really.
Well, it almost depends on which episode. You figure we had the Endor episode where now we know where Leia gets her Ewok dress from.
Yes,
that's right.
Which and all the all the jokes that go along with that. Whereas the two Ahsoka episodes, like I said before, really felt like something we may have, or they could have fallen out of the Clone Wars proper. As far as the formula, it clearly, because of what they're targeting and the length of them, it's almost going to be, here's a very quick, very basic lesson of some sort. Whether it's cooperation or, the episode with Jyn Erso, all creatures are important, right? Very quick, very to the point. I think that's kind of the idea behind it. You can see these. They're on YouTube right now, and we're getting them fast and furious, one a day. But you can see when these are in sort of rotation on the Disney Channel, in between every couple of episodes of whatever is on the Disney Channel these days. Almost like the old "the more you know" slogan from back in the day.
Sure.
That's what I'm taking from these, and they're fun. They're a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun seeing these characters in other situations. So.
Yeah, and as I said before, I'm definitely interested in the time period for Bounty of Trouble, because it obviously takes place in season, that outfit of Sabine's, that's season 2, right?
Oh, gee, that one I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
I think it is, but I mean, obviously it seems to be, because they meet at some point in season 2, so that'll be interesting. I think the one that I found the most of, I mean, all of them I can see where it's nice to kind of complement the story. It doesn't necessarily feel forced. Although I do think the first one with Ahsoka, while it was great to see her in Clone Wars action, and it was just an example of her humility, which was nice to see, I feel like that was the one, if I had to pick one, that maybe added the least to the story, because we already knew that about Ahsoka.
Sure. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. What do you both think about, I mean, obviously you can't argue with any of the voice acting because they're all the originals, except for Leia. What do you think about Leia's voice in these?
Well, Carrie Fisher had quite a distinctive accent in A New Hope that sort of changed. So look, I'm happy just to go with it. I think it works fine, and it's it's still Princess Leia up there on the screen, and I think her the intent with the voice actress is quite fine for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's that, whether they're missing, whether the actress is missing the actual mimic. You get the idea of Leia's sort of, I don't know if abruptness is the right word, but a little more forceful in her, just in her speaking. I think she captures that. So yeah, to me, watching it, that's Leia. Even if the voice isn't 100% spot on. Right.
No, I agree. It's got the spunk. It's got the flair. I think it's like you said, that it's noticeable because it doesn't have that unique kind of cadence that Carrie Fisher had. But we still have the spirit of her, and it very much does feel like Leia. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of these play out. We haven't seen any hints as to what is going to happen. And again, I'm assuming that D23 will provide this. And Ed, I'm sure you've been thinking the same thing that I have, and Mike, you may have as well. Boy, wouldn't Indy look great in these kind of shorts?
Absolutely, it makes sense. And we had those fantastic that animated treatment by Patrick Schoenmaker, I believe, who did that intro. It would be a beautiful 1-2 punch, I think. Indiana Jones, I don't know, Forces of Adventure, who knows what it would be, but I'd certainly buy the dolls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Hey, that reminds me, I'm glad you brought that up. Mike, you are a huge Star Wars collector. Are you interested in purchasing any of the merchandise from this?
Well, we were talking about it on the Sandcrawler a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to get one. I know that. I don't. I'm in 3 3/4 collectors, and I have enough 6 inches that okay, fine. I collect those too, but I would like to sort of. I think I want the Endor Leia. I think that's what I've narrowed myself down to. I just want to go with one. They're cool. It's a different scale. I think they look great. You've got some cool accessories. The Endor Leia comes with Wicket. You can't go wrong with Ewoks. Mm-hmm. I think the merchandise is pretty cool. I'm actually kind of curious about the Ahsoka. That might be another one too. It's only because she's just kind of where she sits in the story. It'd be kind of cool to have her on a shelf a little bit bigger than some of the other ones. But I think for me, the Endor Leia is the one I'm looking at. But this won't be a collect 'em all for me, definitely.
And did I see a Bespin Luke that they were bringing out in this?
Yeah, there was Bespin Luke. There's Yoda coming, I believe.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, pretty neat Empire focus actually. So, Luke's Luke's in the brown the khaki jacket there that he has on Bespin. So it's it was at Celebration. I don't know if I've seen much about it online apart from what we saw at Celebration, but yeah, there will be a Luke and a Yoda coming. So.
Well, that's awesome. I'm going to have to look up pictures of that, and if anyone listening sees it, send us a picture on our CWK Twitter page, and we will definitely see what we think about that. So, we will take a break, and up next, a conversation with Nick Deco on Star Wars video games. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Better than one of those coffee chains, it's Coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee with Kenobi is sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. Coffee with Kenobi is also sponsored by the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and much more. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for. A big reason for the success of our show is actually because of our CWK Patreon contributors, including Tyler Wiggins, Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Angela Souse, Aaron Harris, David Strutt, Jim Capron, Connie Shee, Mediocre Jedi, BJ Smith, Nick Deco, Adam Leonard, Mark Suter, Mike Audette, Eric Struthers, Jared Cantor, and Swara Sala. It's a monthly donation that goes towards show expenses, equipment, and travel. And the different pledges that you give, as you may have heard, will change what kind of incentives you receive as a result of supporting Coffee with Kenobi. It goes anywhere. You can donate $1 all the way up to $250 or more. And the more you give, the more benefits you get. For example, $5 a month will follow you on Twitter. $10 or more will follow you on Twitter. And you get a link to our Google Hangout, which is coming up pretty soon. You also have access to a CWK Patreon message board. In fact, current CWK Patreon contributors, no matter how much money you are contributing, are eligible to win the newest book from Chronicle Books. It's called 99 Stormtroopers Join the Empire by Greg Stones. It's a very humorous picture book. Much more, I guess, graphic than I would have expected. Some interesting ways some of these stormtroopers meet their demise. But it's a very entertaining, engaging book, and that is going to be drawn on Friday at noon. We're going to draw a winner for that. So if you are a CWK Patreon contributor, you're automatically eligible to win this. In fact, there's a question I posted on there that says, what is so cool about stormtroopers and stormtrooper armor? And whatever you put, that doesn't affect how, if or when you will win the prize. It's just something fun to get the conversation going, which is what Coffee with Kenobi is all about. So if you want to get a chance to win a CWK mug, a t-shirt, be a part of a Google Hangout monthly with us, be followed by CWK on Twitter, or even co-host the show with me for 1, 2, or even 4 times in 1 month, check out the link on our show notes or on our homepage for more details. It's the second Thursday of the month, which means Nick Deco is here to have a cup of coffee with us and discuss Star Wars video games. Good to have you back with us, Nick.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be back.
All right, so have you pre-ordered Battlefront 2?
Actually, yes, I think a week ago. I feel after the news dropped of having early access to the beta, I was like, okay, time to go trade in some old games for $3 at GameStop and pre-order Battlefront 2.
And so what's the latest on it? You mentioned the beta release. What are you hearing about that?
So, unfortunately, it's really been a slow, I would say, video game news cycle the past months. Everybody is really holding most of the news related to Battlefront 2 and anything else regarding The Last Jedi close to their vest. The biggest 2 pieces of knowledge that has come really just within the last week or so is that the beta will be between October 7th and 9th. If you don't pre-order it, it will be open to everybody who doesn't pre-order it for those few days on their preferred console. But if you do pre-order it, you'll get an extra, I think, 2 days or 3 days. My math is terrible right now. But I think you get an extra 3 days, and it will start October 4th. So it'll give you 5 full days. And I haven't looked at actually the calendar dates, if that's like the work week or if it's a weekend, because I might be showing up to work really late then in the mornings if this is the work week. And then the second, this really the only, and it's not, and I'm not going to get into it because we're spoiler free. We're not going to spoil anything for anybody. So folks can Google this if they'd like. But somebody, oh, thank you, sir. pat myself on the back. Somebody had access to the alpha version of the game that's what's in production right now. So what we saw back at E3 was the pre-alpha. It wasn't even what folks are playing right now and testing. And so you have the pre-alpha stages, the alpha, and then the betas. And so we're not even into that part yet. We're still in this beginning, really kind of concept phase of what the game's going to share out to be. And you have to sign non-disclosure agreements when you play these games. And so somebody, I think it was on Reddit, of course, or someplace like that, broke their NDA and leaked some information about about Battlefront 2. So I'm not going to get into what it was or what it's about, but if you so feel like you want to get spoiled, Google it. So, but that's really and that's how slow the news cycle is. We have something we can't talk about and a release date.
Are either of you planning on getting Battlefront 2?
I bought a PS4 particularly for Battlefront because I'm a diehard Nintendo guy. So I've been I love the first one, so I haven't pre-ordered it. I will definitely get it, but I just wish it would come out on the Switch because I'm currently engrossed in Zelda and that's all I'm playing at the moment. And wouldn't that be awesome to be able to take that on the go or on a plane or something like that? So I hope, and I don't think it is.
I'm actually not a gamer. I haven't played a video game since Pod Racer back in the early 2000s. Wow. Now, I should say, though, one of my favorite things is The Force Unleashed. That game was when my son started getting into video games, and I'd run out into the living room every time a cutscene came on. So I appreciate everything that's going on in the Battlefront series. But honestly, my games are on my shelves, and they're small pieces of plastic men. So,
well, Mike, I'm glad you brought it. I'm glad you brought The Force Unleashed up because this is now, really, I guess you could say the fourth because it was a sequel to The Force Unleashed. But this is the fourth video game that's going to have a book component to it that adds to the story. And since now these stories are canonical, including video games, what does that do for you and for any of you? What does that do for you as far as enhancement?
Well, I think that's what a lot of this content's for, right? It's just for enhancement. I don't think I'm hoping anyway. It'll never be a thing where if you in my case, I won't be playing Battlefront. Therefore, I'm going to miss something in the next Star Wars movie. But if it's one of these things where it's sort of been historically, where you can pick up something that interests you and it expands what you like about Star Wars, then it's fantastic, I'm not sure how that works when you're, Rey playing against Darth Maul on whatever, but I'm not sure what that translates into. But if there are books that are going to come along with the video game, then great. If more stories are always a good thing if that's what you're looking for.
I agree. If it helps you, I assume it'll be based on that single player campaign, and if you want to find out more about that character, then fantastic. I don't think I'd necessarily be reading the book myself, but if that would work for you, fantastic.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would have to. Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I would disagree. All this is wrong. Just kidding. I think you're. I think enhancement is the right word to look at it when trying to describe video games, even maybe the comic books and the collectibles and experiences that might contribute to the canon storyline, but also really enhance your experience in the Star Wars universe. For me, as somebody who is also a Nintendo, homeboy from way back in the 80s, like not having either one of these Battlefront games on. Either the Wii U or the Switch, it's like it stinks. And I myself went out and bought Xbox One just to play Battlefront. And so I'm really happy that Battlefront 2 is still for the Xbox One because I wasn't ready to shell out another $600 for their next console just for this game. But yeah, with the books, I think it also kind of adds that level of. And I know there's a Battlefront Twilight Company, and I think there's a Twilight Company 2 coming out or something for this game. I could be mistaken, but I know I've seen two Battlefront titles, and maybe Inferno is the Battlefront title I'm thinking about, but it might be in the series of the Battlefront games. So that kind of, it does add to the experience of playing these games. But at the same time, for me, having some of this then shored up also in the canon and making it a little bit larger than just some of the other games we played. Not saying Pod Racer wasn't, canon or anything per se. But, it just adds a little extra, I think, oomph to the experience, especially when, you're spending 12 hours a day playing it.
Okay,
Not me.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because here is my dilemma. I do not personally have a PS4. However, I have 2 teenage boys in the house, and they both have their own console, and I'm not sure if you all are familiar with, at least in my area, my kids, what they do. But when they play video games, now, when I was growing up in college and whatnot, I had the Nintendo 64, and I had 4 controllers, so everybody would come over and we played GoldenEye, or the wrestling games, or what was the follow-up shooter that was so popular after GoldenEye? Perfect Dark. Does that sound right?
Oh, Perfect Dark or Perfect Dark Zero, I think, were the 2 ones. Yeah.
So now what a lot of younger folks do is, like, they will go to each other's houses and they will all have their own monitor and they will all have their own PS4, and they will sit there and they will play online with one another in the same room on the same team, and they're all looking at their own screens with their own consoles. And the older version of me is looking at the teenage version of me saying, "Are you kidding me?" It's just amazing.
Yeah, my son's 19, and for the longest time we thought this is bad because he's quote unquote on his Xbox all the time. But what we ended up finding out is just that he's interacting with his buddies the whole time. So that's fine. They're all on their headsets talking to each other and having a great time if you hear him. Right. It's a new age, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I just think it's amazing where things have progressed. So I do not have a PS4, but I'm just so torn on what I want to do because, we're all married and we all have busy lives, and it's hard to find time to play video games. And I don't find the appeal to it as I used to when I was younger for whatever reason. So I guess I feel obligated to get it because I want to know more of the story, but Inferno Squad will take care of that for me. And I honestly think, and this shows you where I'm at as a collector, and I know you'll all understand this, if there's going to be a collectible PS4 console for Battlefront 2, then I think that's going to be the thing that puts me over the edge.
Ooh, well, you better start saving that money now, Dan, because I would imagine it will probably happen.
If you ever find out, let me know, because that's definitely the thing. I almost bought the Darth Vader one for the first Battlefront, and then the money ended up going to other places, more important places.
That's food, medical bills, all those important things.
Those pesky things, that's right.
Well, you can always try before you buy and see if you actually have time, to invest the time in it.
The good thing I found...
Yeah, and I think that's what...
Sorry, I was just going to say, the good thing with Battlefront I found is not a person who, as like you guys have a lot of time, you can jump in for a battle and it's very short. So it's not like, if you're playing these, epic Zelda games or anything like that, you can play for 10, 15, 20 minutes and then, put it down if you can put it down. It is very addictive though.
I would second that. I think I think, Dan, you had on a really good point when it comes to video games. So I feel like it's still, it's still a niche of the Star Wars fandom, because you do sometimes have to really dedicate a lot of time to get an experience out of these games. And busy people, you tack on, especially if you have children, or if you're working 40 hours a week, you commute, video games don't rank up as high as they used to when you're in college or you're in high school or what have you. I think the multiplayer aspect, the flip side to like not being around friends and stuff, since we are all spread out and we communicate regularly through the internet now, I think that's fortunately has allowed folks to still play and get that that communal sense of fun over headsets, and much like we did years ago, without really losing any of that camaraderie you would get from enjoying a shared experience through a video game. When you start playing GoldenEye and you say, all right, everybody, no odd job. No, we're not playing Golden Gun. We're playing just regular.
That's the way to go.
Oh man, see and so you still get those things years later, but I think that's still there. You still get this this community from the multiplayer that's shared through your typical, not in the same room anymore, but across the country.
Well, I don't know,
but I would say
yeah. Well, I hear you, and I don't know about all of you, but I find that one day I picked up a controller and I realized I stink. I stink at these. I used to be great. What happened?
Too old for this sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say if you can link it to work as a teacher, what I do is every I think 3 times every cycle at school we play Mario Kart at lunchtimes with kids all over the spectrum. So it's a safe place where they can come and play, and we Mario Kart together. I bring in my Switch. We do 1-2 Switch with a lot of fun things. Maybe you could actually, Dan, get your students in and tie it into some curriculum, and there you could play on during work hours. How cool would that be?
That is brilliant.
There you go.
That is
storytelling. It's campaign. Yep. It's got a story to it, right?
Coordination, you've got it all.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. All right, Nick. Well, thank you for that and for inspiring us, because you've given me a little bit of food for thought.
My apologies to Mrs. Dan. So if you purchase a $700 console in the future,
I have some words for you, sir. So
I will not be. My bad.
You, if they want to ask you a question or just say hello.
Easiest way to get in touch with me is on Twitter at NickDico, NickDico. And thanks, guys, for having me. Dan, it was a pleasure, gentlemen. May the force be with you.
And also with you.
There you go. That's always the hardest thing to respond to. The Catholic in me always wants to say, and with your spirit.
And with your Force Ghost.
Exactly. That's wonderful.
Well, thanks for having a cup of coffee with us, Nick. Nick Dico, ladies and gentlemen. After the break, Tom has news. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Han Solo to C-3PO to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like Rogue One and The Force Awakens, to book titles such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath, to classic audiobooks like William Shakespeare's Star Wars. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app features incredible images from many aspects of the saga, including the original trilogy, the prequels, the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Force Awakens, and Rogue One. It's the quality you have come to expect from Topps. It's also easy to get into and really fun too. Your favorite Star Wars characters, scenes, and moments are in every pack. To get started, download the app for free from iTunes or Google Play, and then be sure to open the app each day for free credits to spend on card packs from the Cantina. Plus, if you can't get what you're looking for, there's a place to trade with your friends as you complete your Star Wars collection. And if you're an experienced collector, there are exclusive cards, special inserts, and autograph opportunities for you to enjoy. Don't worry about missing the cards and sets you want either, as you can sign up for notifications right on the app. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps can be downloaded for free from iTunes or Google Play. Be sure to download the app and start your collection today. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is available now. And remember, these are the cards you're looking for.
We are in the news segment of the show. Tom Gross, of course, joins us. And you have a plethora of information for us this week, don't you, sir?
A fun week indeed. Let's kick it off with the D23 Expo. Comes to Anaheim this weekend at the Convention Center. Friday, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill will be named as recipients of the Disney Legends Award. And according to the D23 website, it is the 30th anniversary of the Disney Legends Award, which is the highest honor the Disney Corporation can give. The award is an expression of gratitude to the women and men whose work has significantly contributed to Disney's reputation for creative excellence. Fisher and Hamill join a legendary induction class, which also includes director Gary Marshall, Oprah Winfrey, comic book legends Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, among others. Then on Saturday, the schedule includes a live-action film presentation by Disney, Marvel Studio, and Lucasfilm that promises to feature never-before-seen footage, surprise star appearances, and more from upcoming Disney movies. So that's my preview. What do you guys think?
I think I wish I was going.
Me too.
Agreed.
It's because this is, of course, in the same convention center where Celebration Anaheim was in 2015. I was really close to actually pulling the trigger on this, but it just didn't work out, at least this year. But it looks like there's going to be a lot going on. I know that pavilion that we talked about when Amy was on, where they're going to have a lot of stuff about the theme parks. I expect we're going to hear quite a bit about the theme parks. And Ed, I'm sure you've heard the news rolling about that the Great Movie Ride is most likely going to be leaving us rather soon.
I did hear that, and I'm hopeful it will still be there when I'm around, mainly because there's the Ark of the Covenant in the opening area there. So I don't know. Did you hear when it's closing?
Well, it said that by 2018 it will be replaced with a Mickey Mouse attraction.
Okay, well, hopefully I can sneak in there because I love that ride, and even the alien bit, which still freaks me out every time I go.
Well, in the animatronic of Harrison Ford when they're lifting the Ark out, I love that room. I just look around constantly, just try to soak it all in because it's beautiful.
I would have loved to have seen a Star Wars. With Darth on the gantry in Cloud City or something like that. Wouldn't have that been a fantastic scene they could have added? I don't know why with his cape blowing in the wind. I would have liked to have seen that, but oh well. Great. Mickey's still cool.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He does okay, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he does.
All right. Well, moving on. The next story is not a new story, but this news story is to remind you that Saturday, July 15th is the first opportunity to purchase the new Hallmark Star Wars keepsake ornaments and the brand new Star Wars Storyteller ornaments. This year's keepsake ornament will be the First Order Stormtrooper FN2199, who became famous when he hollered "Traitor" to our friend Finn. And the ornament shows FN2199 in full First Order Stormtrooper armor and his spinning V6 Vitro baton ready for action. The FN2199 ornament will retail at $17.95. Also to be released on July 15th will be two Star Wars Storyteller ornaments, the Death Star and Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. According to the Hallmark website, fans will relive some of their favorite scenes from Star Wars A New Hope with these ornaments. Collect them all to unlock even more performances, with each one having real sound effects and dialogue from the film. One more, an X-Wing Starfighter, will be available October 7th. Oh. The Storytellers will retail at $39.99 and come with a keepsake power cord. Now, Dan, I suspect that you've got some hands-on with these. Is that right?
That is correct. That's kind of cheating because you saw them yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, Hallmark sent those to me in early June. I've got all three of them, and I've got the power cord, and I need to do a Facebook Live on them because they are incredible. Mike, you in particular are going to love the detail on these. It's by far the best sculpt of any of the Hallmark ornaments that I've seen, and I've seen just about all of them. And the way they interact with one another, and it's just gorgeous. To put them on the tree this year is really going to be spectacular. It's really great.
I'll be very interested in the X-Wing fighter at least.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. But nothing says Christmas than a shock trooper on your Christmas tree, though, right?
That's right. That's right. In fact, I heard they're changing the jingle bells to insert that figure into the song as well.
No, these ornaments look fantastic, and I know last year I upgraded my Star Wars Christmas tree, and I think it's not going to be long before I'm asking for a new Christmas tree budget for my family to make a bigger one.
Do any of you have an all Star Wars Christmas tree?
I have a pop culture tree, so I've got my Indiana Jones Hallmark ornament, my Star Wars ornaments, and a couple of Happy Days ones as well. So, and the Bionic Man one with the theme and all that sort of stuff. So, it's sort of more of a palm tree really than a Christmas tree, I guess.
Pretty cool. I like that the Bionic Man thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it and that theme goes like for 3-4 minutes. It's fantastic.
Oh.
And do you run in slow motion around the room when it's played?
Absolutely, with my with holding up my fantastic Kenner Steve Austin engine that I still got that somewhere.
Yeah, eye in the back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the basis of the Boba Fett viewfinder in the 12-inch version as well. So exactly the same thing. Yeah, that's it. It's a bit hard to do.
I'll try to be clever and edit that into the shell.
That'll be great.
I've got just a couple Star Wars ornaments. I had the very first few that came out. I've got the Millennium Falcon and a couple others, and then I stopped. Whatever reason, I just really didn't continue with them. But I'll have one or two small Christmas theme. Like I usually bring up my bunch of my Jawa figures and all that, and put them upstairs with as if they're hanging Christmas lights and that sort of thing. That's pretty much the extent of Star Wars in our Christmas in our house. You know what? I'll decorate my voice activated R2D2. He's got the claw that comes out, so we stick a bulb in his hand. Yeah.
Dan, do you have one?
I do. And
full size?
This year is going to be a lot better because I have the Gentle Giant, the Yoda, Christmas Yoda that came out a few years ago that was a exclusive. And I've got a ton of the ornaments, the Hallmark ornaments, and I just got a bunch of random stuff. Christmas and Star Wars, that's kind of one of my main collectible niches for whatever reason.
Very nice. I like the pop culture tree. I've got some Spider-Man ornaments that really don't have a home, and maybe, I don't know, I have a hard time breaking up the Star Wars tree, though, so... Okay, well, moving on, director of the upcoming untitled Han Solo movie, Ron Howard, sent out a tweet this week to tease all of his newest Star Wars friends. Included in the tweet is a picture of a well-lit closet that has what looks to be about 7 light jackets or long-sleeve shirts, and everyone, bear with me on this. Just imagine the picture in your mind, or maybe we'll put it onto the Coffee with Kenobi Facebook page if you haven't seen it. The front, most visible garment, has a gray collar with red sleeves and an orange, yellow, black, and light gray pattern running from side to center diagonally down. The other garments shown are green, blue, and a mustard-looking yellow and a shimmery gold maybe along the sleeves. Then Howard includes with the text, or with the image, the text, "Can you guess whose closet this is?" Hashtag untitled Han Solo movie. Well, gentlemen, I don't think it's Chewbacca's closet, but what do you think?
That first grayish sweater with the stripes looked like Wesley Crusher's, but that can't be the right movie if that's the case. If you look at the picture, it looks like that pullover that Will Wheaton used to wear on Next Gen. So I don't know. I'm picturing there was a shot, right? There was a cape in that as well, wasn't there?
I'm looking at it now. I'm not sure. I just assumed it's Mork's jacket.
Right, the vest, the old ski vest. Yeah.
They do look a little bit out of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. I could see Wilma Deering wearing one of those, the gold one. Sure. It could be a lycra jumpsuit, perhaps.
Well, maybe they're going to make silver-booted Snaggletooth canon in this movie. Maybe
or maybe Aaron
there you go.
Come back.
That'll be great. I'd be up for that. So,
well, I've just been waiting for
roller disco-y, don't they? The colours.
They do.
They do.
Or
Yes, indeed.
Star Toursy, you know. I don't know.
That's interesting. Or maybe it's the
sure.
galactic version of what color is this?
Well, I've just been waiting for the other shoe to fall for Ron to say, well, that's my closet, of course. All right. Well, finally, StarWars.com announced this week that IDW Publishing's saga-spanning Star Wars Adventures comic book that will release in September is now available for preview on StarWars.com, or if you're lucky enough to be at San Diego Comic-Con, you can pick up a copy there. The preview, or Ashcan exclusive, written by Landry Q. Walker and illustrated by Derek Charm, is told through the point of view of R2-D2 and C-3PO. My favorite part of the comic is of the preview is a double wide of all of our favorite characters from the entire saga. It's beautiful, beautiful double wide of that. And 3PO's comments state, quote, "Trust me, R2 and I have certainly seen our fair share of excitement. Too much, I would argue." The first issue in the series by IDW, written by Kevin Scott and illustrated by Derek Charm, will be released in print and digital on September 6th. Has anyone had a chance to take a look at the Ashcan exclusive?
I have, and I think these look exquisite. I mean, they remind me very much of sort of the comics when we were growing up that weren't necessarily the hard edge stuff, but just kind of the lighter stuff for kids that had action with them. And I really love the art. I'm actually quite a bit more excited about these than I originally was when I had heard the announcement, because these images look spectacular.
Yeah, do you see the double truck that I'm talking about?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I mean, anybody and everybody is on that, and they're not so jam-packed in there. I mean, even Ezra and Jin and Kanan and Finn and Lando, I mean, they're all there. And yeah, you're right, Dan. It is beautifully illustrated.
And I'm putting a link to it, gents, for you to look at in the Skype chat if you want to get a.
Oh, great! Thank you.
Oh, cool.
I really like how they have Rey in that the one on the far right as well. Really, really,
right.
Cool. Really cool.
It's almost similar to what we're seeing with Forces of Destiny. You know, very more simplified look to the characters. So maybe there's a whole thing that they're trying to achieve with this new kind of look.
And did you see the preview cover of down at the very bottom is a preview cover of issue 1 that has Rey running through.
Oh, right, yeah.
The wide one with Unkar Plutt chasing her. Oh yeah. Yeah, I like Vader's helmet too. It's kind of got that McQuarrie vibe to it. These are good. People are going to love listening to us look at pictures.
And next we're going to watch some paint dry.
That's right.
That's right. Need to switch to a video podcast for this episode,
There
maybe.
you go. Tom, what do you think? You're a huge comic book guy.
Oh, I think it's great. I was a little concerned early on when I saw that it's narrated by C-3PO, which reminds me of one of the Lego series. Yes. But where that is more, I feel like that's more tongue in cheek and humorous. I feel like this is going to take a real storytelling. Kind of feel to it, and I just when I'm just scanning down through here these Ashcan pages, Asajj Ventress, she's not one to be taken lightly, and be neat to hear 3PO's take on those things. But I think it's the art is wonderful, and I looked up to see where Derek Charm's background is, and he has a lot of he's illustrated some of the Powerpuff Girls and some Jughead comics, and I'm looking here and seeing Edward Scissorhands is in his repertoire, and he's got some really neat stuff, and he just did a great job on this. And he will now. I didn't find any pieces that said how far into the release he will illustrate, but he definitely is the Ashcan as well as issue 1 illustrator. So
well, the Archie thing is apropos. That's exactly what it is. I couldn't put my finger on it, but that is exactly what it looks like. There used to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, too, that was geared just for kids, and it wasn't violent. And this was the art style, I think.
Yeah.
You know, what's standing out to me with this is that, you know, again, it's stylized, but you really find with Star Wars that all you got to do is get the basics of each character. You know, Han Solo, make sure his hair is brown, make sure he's wearing the black vest. You know, Luke, put him in his in his shorty robe, make sure he's got blonde hair, and we know who these people are instantly, even as stylized as they are. The last page on the right-hand side, you've got that picture of Rey who looks like she's climbing. You know, very different look in her face from, you know, obviously from Daisy Ridley, but clearly it's Rey. Mm-hmm. So I'm liking this. It's it's a little alternative. I kind of dig it.
Very good. Tom, you got anything else for us?
No, that's all I've got for today.
Very good. I imagine that the next time we record, we're going to have a lot to talk about with whatever is going to be announced at D23. So thank you,
I
Tom.
suspect.
Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely. You are very welcome.
Well, we will take another break, and when we come back, we are going to break down Dave Filoni's reveal on Twitter regarding the Bendu and Ahsoka. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
Coffee with Kenobi was sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. Coffee with Kenobi was also sponsored by the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and much more. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for. On Thursday, July 6th, Dave Filoni caused quite a stir with his tweet regarding the Bendu and fan favorite Ahsoka Tano. So I am assuming that most of you have seen this online. It was all over the place once Dave tweeted it out, and I chatted with Dave at Rancho last year. Just kind of got from him there and at the Rebels press conference and just kind of hearing him over the years. I think he loves messing with people. And I think that not in a malicious way, just kind of a fun way. And I think this definitely is a classic example of that. I'm going to read what the tweet says. And Dave wrote, "It just occurred to me that I never got to tell you all the story of the time that the Bendu met Ahsoka Tano. It was a brief encounter which took place around the end of the episode The Mystery of Chopper Base from Season 2, just before Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra left on their fateful mission to Malachor. Of their conversation, you might find this dialogue to be the most interesting." And here is what it is. We've got just a couple moments. It's written as a play, really. And so we have the Bendu who says, "You were set on this confrontation then." And Ahsoka responds with, "I have to know the truth." The Bendu says, "So be it, but understand this. Much will change as a result of this encounter, including you." Ahsoka responds with, "Isn't that true of all things, as time advances?" The Bendu says, "My dear, when I say change, I mean death." And Ahsoka says, "So I will die?" And the Bendu closes this with, "Will you? I didn't know that. Goodbye then, Ahsoka Tano, former Jedi Knight." Mike, what do you got?
Well.
There's a few things I think that jump out right away.
Yeah, definitely. She knows what she's going to find. Based on this, there was no surprises that she was going to run into Vader. I just love that last bit where it's "so I will die." You know, Bendu says, "I mean death, so I'll die," and his next answer is a question: "Will you?" I didn't know that. So just right. What's the old a riddle inside of a?
Yes.
I can't think of the other terms.
Conundrum.
Thank you, conundrum. That's the word. Thank you very much.
Go.
Thank you.
Well, see, interestingly enough, I just realized when you were talking about that particular part how much the Bendu is like Mary Poppins. So now we have the title for this show. Because when we watched Mary Poppins the other day, we introduced it to our son, and he loved it. And what struck us as adults about Mary Poppins is that she's very personable, but she's very no nonsense, and she kind of has a way of messing with people too, which I guess I said at the beginning, Dave does. So when she says, "So I will die," and he says, "Will you?" I didn't know that. Goodbye then, Ahsoka Tano. It's hard to tell where the Bendu is on this. Now he is supposed to be not light or dark. He is just kind of in the middle. I think that's fair to say.
Right, which is actually how he speaks of himself, right?
Exactly.
The one in the middle.
And then he says, "Former Jedi Knight," and I was not under the impression that Ahsoka ever made it to the title of Jedi Knight. That's actually,
unless she was. I'm sorry, Dan. She was in.
She was offered it.
Right, and she was, in the training to become one. So I guess.
Well, her
it would be a way
last
of
appearance in
to her.
Clone Wars, they offered her that and said, "Hey, I guess we could say this was your trials," and she said, "No." And that's when she walked away from the Order. So I always felt that Ahsoka was a Jedi, except in title. That was just a moniker that they were putting on her. So obviously she's at a whole other level from
agreed.
From most Jedi. So,
right.
So there's that, and then we have when I change, I mean death, so I will die. So, and then we can go. This is just like when The Last Jedi, the trailer came out at Celebration, and people were talking about people dying and death, and is this the end of someone's physical life? And I still feel like this is just equating to a spiritual death or perhaps death of innocence. I mean, she confronts her former master, who's like a father figure or a brother to her, and she sees what he has become, and it's, how could that not devastate you on the inside?
Right. Now that you say that, what's all of a sudden popped into my head? There's a line in a U2 song. I think the song is "Surrender," and the line in it is, "If I want to live, I've got to die to myself one day." And if you look at Bendu saying something's going to die, and he's saying, right, death is coming, and she says, "So me?" And he says, "Well, I don't know that part of it."
Right.
But clearly a change is coming. And I think he's signaling to her, a change in her is going to be coming. And then obviously there's the mystery of does she die at the end of that episode? Right. Sorry, Ed.
No, that's all right.
But I that's, boy, Dave Filoni, going to keep people awake all night.
I mean, is Bendu referring to not her death, but to the death of in air quotes Anakin, and how he's changed from dying to become Darth Vader? And
right.
I certainly think that is absolutely in play. I mean, that could very well be it. Because
that way, I think, she obviously thinks she's referring to him, and then, that makes sense. And then he's a bit tongue-in-cheek at the end, well, goodbye then, Ahsoka, former, Jedi Knight. It was nice knowing you or whatever. Right. But perhaps, it is a bit hard with when you don't hear the internet. Not that your reading wasn't wonderful, Dan, but, with the intonation from the actors, the way that it's placed.
I should have suggested that people grab a tissue when I start.
Right. We could have hummed Binary Sunsets in the background for you or something.
Yes.
Well, then we have the word truth, and Ed, of course, better than anybody, Indiana Jones, how he distinguishes between facts and truth.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you're right there. So it's not having seen a lot of it. It's really hard to tell, but I do feel like he is trolling in a nice way, the fans, because that would bug the heck out of me. I just want to know, like her, So will we ever find out?
Yeah, if this is a teaser to something coming out, I think that's one heck of a teaser, because it's certainly, I mean, anytime we hear anything, get any news about Ahsoka, it causes people to get really excited, because I think she's easily the most popular non-film Star Wars character that's ever been created.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with Ashley Eckstein, and what she brings to life with that character too. And Dave obviously loves her fighting style, and then of course now that she's got a significant role in a few episodes of Forces of Destiny that we've seen so far. Let's look really quickly at the image before we close out this segment. Is there anything in there that kind of comes to mind?
Alice in Wonderland comes to mind when I look at this.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. It's just got that real, just the art style, but it just reminds me of the Cheshire Cat for some reason.
That's another apropos comparison as well. I hadn't thought of that.
So,
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, you know what I'm wondering too. We're talking about death. Change is going to come, and I mean death. Maybe it is referring more to Vader, because later on we Obi-Wan saying that Anakin Skywalker died. I think that's what he told Luke initially.
True.
So you've kind of got that angle where maybe along those lines, where we've heard it before, where someone's saying somebody is dying, but maybe not in the way we're used to defining what death is. So maybe it's a bit of a throwback to that too.
And it could just be, hey, there's going to be death in this galactic conflict, just death in general.
Right.
Mm.
So
right.
It's deliciously vague.
Boy, if I wrote for a website, if I got an article.
I'll try to get you in touch with some people.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we can definitely keep our eyes open for that.
I would love that picture made into a wood sculpture of some sort. That picture's just amazing.
And does it look a little? I was going to say, over his left shoulder, doesn't that look a little bit like Groot looking down on Ahsoka?
It does.
See, it's that Disney synergy between Marvel and Star Wars.
That's right. Maybe he's Groot's father. Wouldn't that be big?
I am your. No, yeah, there you go.
Now I'm blowing it up, and I'm looking for hidden Mickey. So stand by.
I think I see one. The Alice in Wonderland thing, I think that's really poignant, because he's obviously not the Cheshire Cat because he's more responsible, but there's a bit of that whimsy and that childish spirit that kind of masks something more fierce, and I really like that.
Cool.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take our last break and return with your emails. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Better than one of those coffee chains. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, Penguin Random House Audio and the Star Wars Digital card trader collecting app from Topps. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archived shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Player FM, our website, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, and we'd love for you to check us out there. Be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows too, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. A big thank you to Ed Dolsta and Mike McDonald for having a cup of coffee with me. where can listeners get in touch with each of you if they want to ask you a question or just say hello?
You can find the IndieCast by visiting the IndieCast.com website, where you can listen to each episode, or we're on Facebook as well, Instagram, all those sort of places. Or you can, if you want to say hi directly, ed@theindiecast.com, you can send me an email, and I'd love to chat Indiana Jones with you.
And you can find me on Twitter at Mike Tarkin. My podcast, The Sandcrawler, is part of the RetroZap Podcast Network, and actually we've just launched a website to go with the podcast, which you can find at thesandcrawler.net, and of course you can find me at Coffee with Kenobi occasionally.
That is correct, and I will of course have links to all of these things in the show notes where everyone can listen to your guys' amazing podcast and get in touch with you on Twitter. And as a friendly reminder to our CWK audience, I am the official IndieCast fan club president and have been for many, many years.
You have. You've been doing a fantastic job spreading the word. I really appreciate it, Dan.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you. I appreciate both of you. We will be back next week with 2 new co-hosts. Hopefully, a lot more Star Wars talk from the D23 Expo. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.